Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
It's time for Tip-Off Tuesday.
There's no magic formula.
Eric Williams, three, good at the shot clock buzzer. Young all the way to the basket with two hands.
We're going to have to get ready for everything.
Ducks get it to Richardson. His three is good.
And one of the things that I'm really proud of next game attitude.
Sedona Prince follows, scores, and is fouled. Harry steps into a long three and hits it. Softly lay it in. Ducks take the lead.
Down the stretch, we made the plays, and that's what a good team's got to do.
This is Tip-Off Tuesday on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield. Let's talk Oregon Ducks basketball. From the Country Financial Studio, alongside Terry Jonz, here's Joey Mack.
Well, I wish that Terry Jonz was here with us, but he's on a plane. Terry's already traveling. The Oregon women getting ready for the Pac-12 tournament, so we've got a Tip-Off Tuesday with Terry here from earlier this week, and then I'm here, so you're stuck with me. I'm Joey Mack. Thanks for being with us, everybody. We've got Chris Crutchfield, Oregon men's basketball assistant coach. He'll be with us in just a little while. We also, of course, have Kelly Graves. Kelly Graves, a very happy Kelly Graves, talking with Terry Jonz earlier this week. Oregon women's basketball, that bracket is now set. Let's show it to you. For those who are watching on the stream, we can go through the entire bracket for you. Colorado and Washington will begin the Pac-12 tournament on Wednesday at noon. Oregon State, Arizona State will follow in the morning session. Then UCLA, USC. Winner of that game gets the Ducks. And Utah, Cal. That's the bracket coming up. Arizona ends up at the number 4 seed, Stanford number 1, and then Oregon and Washington State are the 2 and the 3. The Ducks will play at 6 o'clock on Thursday evening, 5:30 pregame show with Terry Jonz on the Oregon Sports Network. UCLA and USC will square off the night before. The winner plays the Ducks. Pac-12 tournament is upon us for Oregon women's basketball. Again, 6 o'clock on Thursday. The Ducks will be in action with Terry Jonz, a 5:30 pregame show. On the Oregon men's side, Arizona is 15-2, USC 14-4, UCLA 14-5. Then it's the Ducks in 4th place at 11-7, right ahead of Colorado at 11-8. Of course, Oregon will play at Washington coming up on Thursday and at Washington State coming up on Saturday to conclude the regular season for Oregon men's basketball. This is after what was a up and down weekend. Beat UCLA. Almost beat USC, did the Oregon men. Oregon women's basketball, though, after their win against Utah, they're feeling pretty darn good. So we have a lot to get to. I do, though, want to start with some good news for a new recruit for Oregon men's basketball. The 2022 Nike Hoop Summit team, selected by USA Basketball Men's Development National Team Committee. It was announced yesterday and features 2022 Oregon men's basketball signee, Kel'el Ware. Pretty darn cool. Largely considered the most competitive high school all-star game in the country. The 10 prospects on the USA's roster will face off against 10 international players on Friday, April 8th at the Moda Center. The Ducks will have fans, or Duck fans, I should say, will have an early opportunity to see Ware in action because it's in Portland on Friday, April 8th at 7 p.m. Ware is a 7-foot, 221-pound incoming recruit for the Ducks, averaging 21 points, 12 rebounds, and nearly 6 blocks per game this season out in Arkansas. Pretty darn cool. Congratulations to Oregon signee Kel'el Ware, playing in one of the best all-star games at the high school level. More details on that on GoDucks.com. So there's the schedule ahead, the schedule that was, and we have so many interviews for you today that we're going to get a timeout pretty quickly here on Tip-Off Tuesday. When we return, Kelly Graves sitting down with Terry Jonz, number 2 in the Pac-12, and a chance to maybe do something special in Vegas. Keep it here on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Thanks for calling Toyota. This is Jan. How can I help?
Hey, Jan. Say, is now a good time for a new Toyota?
You bet it is. Now through April 4th is the perfect time to shop for a RAV4, Tundra, Tacoma, Corolla, and more. Imagine yourself in a RAV4. Where would you go first?
Skinny Al's Barbecue.
I'm imagining you inviting me.
Let your imagination run wild at your participating Toyota dealer. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places. Dealer inventory may vary.
Once a duck, always a duck. That's OCCU. Since 1956, OCCU has been the credit union serving the University of Oregon community. From the bright yellow Duck debit card to the Duck Visa Rewards card. If you're a duck, you belong at OCCU, where you'll find fewer fees, higher savings rates, and lower rates on loans, and lots of fellow Duck fans. Go Ducks. Join OCCU. Learn more at myoccu.org/Go Ducks.
You're listening to Tip Off Tuesday on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
We're back on Tip-Off Tuesday here in the Country Financial Studio, closing in on our interview with Kelly Graves, brought to you by Toyota every week. Toyota, let's go places. The Ducks are already traveling today to Las Vegas. Oregon will play the winner of USC and UCLA at 6 o'clock on Thursday. The first-round game for the Ducks, actually in the second round, because they earned themselves a bye. A nice win over Utah. The Ducks got one pretty much wire-to-wire against the Utes to end the regular season, and a really good win for the Ducks. Kelly Graves yesterday sat down with Terry Jonz. It's brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Here's Terry Jonz with Coach Graves.
Well, Coach, a mountain road trip since we last talked, and a 1-1, but the one win was a big one. Got the number 2 seed in the Pac-12 tournament. Huge win at Utah.
It was, and we let our kids know before the game that this, how important the game was. I mean, with a win, we knew we were going to be the 2 seed, but with a loss, we would have been the 5 seed, which means we would have had to play an extra game in the tournament. So it was, we definitely had something to play for, and came out right from the beginning, and played well. It's funny. I told my staff, I said, I'm going to be able to find out today how well we're going to do in postseason by how we respond to the pressure and to the stakes of today's game, and they passed. And I think that bodes well for us in the postseason. We treated it as a playoff game, and they passed. Just played really, really well right from the beginning.
Yeah, it kind of the one and done season as now you're starting,
yep.
And it wasn't totally one and done, but it kind of felt that way, didn't it?
Yeah, and that, like I said, that's what we tried to portray going into the game. But yeah, we had a lot of players step up and play well. Niara has been pretty consistently good for quite a while. Sydney Parrish, it was great to see her, really break out of what, you would consider a slump to some degree. You hate to put that on them, but she just had a great game. We had to play her at the 3 because we didn't have Maddie, and so we've always liked that big lineup. You and I have talked about that several times. Sedona, did a nice job. I think all 5 starters scored in double figures, so it was a good, well-rounded effort. At the same time, we got good production from the bench. Philly came in and did her typical yeoman's work in a short period of time. Shania Pinto played a little bit more than she has. Did a good job, especially defensively, and so a lot of people played well on Saturday.
You mentioned a big lineup, got some high-low going, like we saw in the tournament last year when the high-low didn't work earlier in the year, but then it did in the tournament. But that was good to see. Yeah,
and difficult to guard. I actually talked with Lynn Roberts, the Utah head coach, last night. We talked a lot, and she was real honest with me. Just saying that you're better when you have that big lineup and when you play high-low basketball. She said, we're not a small team, but we have no ability to match up with you guys. And it was nice to hear from a really good friend. Usually you don't share those kind of thoughts with each other until the off season because, there's still a chance that we might play them in the semifinals. So, but anyway, that's what good friends are for in coaching.
And you mentioned, too, without Maddie Shear and an update. Hopefully she will be back for the game on Thursday.
That's still a question mark, to
Okay.
be honest with you. Yeah, she aggravated a little bit during our shoot-around, and so I'm not sure. I think she'll be available at some point in Las Vegas. I'm not sure if it'll be the first game or not.
And you mentioned that allowed Sid to move back to her normal position of a 3 instead of at the 4.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the way you look at it. I think she feels just more comfortable at the 3, even though as a 4, it's not like she's setting screens and rolling to the basket and posting up. She's still playing on the perimeter. But I think it does help our spacing a little bit, and it certainly has helped. It helped Sydney that day. And if she can shoot like that and have those kind of efforts, and it wasn't just her shooting. She had a really good game. She rebounded the ball well. I think she had 4 assists. I think it was her maybe even a career high here in assists. She played a good basketball game. But if she can give us that from the perimeter, we become really, really difficult to defend.
Yeah, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals.
That's
pretty
good effort.
Plus
Hey,
18 and the plus minus, yeah.
Sid, let's just bottle that one and do that every game from here on out. And if she does that, oh my goodness, watch out.
Yeah, when she hits the first couple of shots from outside, that just opens up the middle, doesn't it?
Well, it does, because you've got a couple of playmakers in Tahina and India, right, who can attack the basket, get in the paint. And then you've got the high-low game, or at least you've got Niara down low, who is always going to command a double team. And so then Sydney just becomes a perfect fit. We've had that player, Aaron Boley, Lexi Bando, with a dominant inside post presence. The shooter becomes even better, because now they're going to have to help somewhere. Who they're going to help off, and that sometimes opens up those shooters.
On Wednesday at Colorado, a double overtime at a Mile High. I mean, that's just such a tough road trip. One, because of the altitude, the travel in between the games, and now there's 2 really, really good teams, including your buddy J.R. Payne's got a good one at Colorado. I think Utah and Colorado are pretty much in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, yeah, I talked with both JR and Len, and we've, we're on a group text together. We have been all year. We're all good friends, and it's going to be neat that all of us are going to be in that NCAA tournament. Yeah, I don't think there's a question regardless of what happens down there. However, I think they both need to go beat Cal and Washington. They don't give the committee a reason. Right. If they can get that done and get into the quarterfinals, I think they're both safe. But, yeah, Colorado's good. And you mentioned the altitude, and that's a real thing. You try to downplay it as much as you can with the team, et cetera, but it's a real thing. And we played like we were really tired the first 3 quarters, and then something just happened. And, to score 38 points in 3 quarters and then 34 in the fourth, I mean, come on, you guys. We just – it was a crazy, tough game. Unfortunately, we ended up losing it, but I'm really proud of how we came back.
Yeah, maybe a lesson learned for the Utah game that don't dig yourself a hole.
Well, but why is it the 27th or 28th game that we're still having to figure that out? I mean, so part of that's on me. A lot of it's on the players. You just can't come out, dead flat like that. And we didn't shoot it well. I mean, when we've struggled, it's not necessarily the effort, it's usually just we haven't shot it well.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't shoot it well back there.
Yeah. At the Huntsman Center, as we talked about in the pregame, some good memories at the Huntsman Center for you and playing basketball in Utah. I think, do we have something from –
Uh-oh.
There we go.
Look at that guy.
There he is. 1981, Dixie High School.
I almost look a little high.
Yeah.
Now, but that's unfortunate. That's Utah, so that's not the case.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at that. That's picture perfect. This is it. That was a game winner. I'd hit the last shot in the previous 3 quarters of that game. Last possession of each quarter, made the shot, and then made that one to win the game.
Wow.
Against the Spanish Fork Dons.
Well, the Dons.
So, yeah. I still remember that. You guys, I had broken my hand. I had a broken right hand at the time, and finished my senior year with wearing a kind of a soft cast on my shooting hand. But never missed a game. Did it on a Wednesday, and you still see the calcium deposit here on the bone. And did it on Wednesday, played on Friday, went 9 of 11.
Whoa.
So these kids now, this generation, man, you guys, with all these trainers. It's funny. I go into the training room. I see them on these foam rollers, and it's like, oh, my God. I mean, seriously.
I know. Well, shoot or shoot. Even though you were injured, you still knocked him down.
Well, yeah. That looked nice.
It did.
But where did that skinny guy go?
Well,
jeez Louise.
Me too, buddy. So I wonder that every morning,
I'm closer to Barkley.
I don't even know what to say coming out of that interview. More to come. Kelly Graves and Terry Jonz on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Don't miss the third installment in the Kingsman film series, The Kingsman, starring Ray Fiennes, now available at Redbox. This action spy thriller prequel unfolds with the Duke of Oxford learning of a sinister plot by Rasputin and other notorious historical figures to eradicate millions of people in pre-World War I Europe. The story follows and reveals the origins of the Independent Intelligence Agency, The Kingsman. Watch The Kingsman and make it a Redbox night. Visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
If a natural disaster comes knocking, how prepared is your family? You can't just close the door on earthquakes, floods, or hurricanes and hope they go away. That's why it's important to make a plan now. Ready.gov/plan has the tools and tips you need to prepare your family for an emergency. So if disaster shows up at your doorstep, you'll be ready. Visit ready.gov/plan and make a plan today. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey, son. How are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you was.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, Joey Mack here with you. Tip-off Tuesday. Yesterday, Monday, Terry Jonz got a chance to catch up with Kelly Graves. Part 2 of their conversation brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Let's hear from Kelly Graves.
Niara, Indy, and Tahina, coaches voted them in the All Pac-12. I voted for the media side, and we'll see the results, I think, when we're down in Vegas. But they're in my top 15 as well. But congratulations.
Pretty neat. Yeah, pretty neat. And, as the 2 seed, the so-called second-place team, you should get, 2 or 3 on the first team. And all 3 of those really deserved it. I think Niara was one of the top 2 or 3 in the conference in the votes, total votes, and as well as she should be. So, anyway, good on them. Well deserved. And Maddie made honorable mention all defensive team, and that was well deserved. I think she should have earned the first team, but again, she doesn't have high steals, high block shots, high defensive rebounds. She's just a really good team defender, and the players that she plays game in and game out score less than they normally do.
Yep. Yeah, we know. We've talked about that. That seems like a lot of the voters, they look at the steals, they look at the block shots, and as you said too, rebounding. But that's not. If you got to watch the games and see how they impact the game. And Maite was kind of like that, and you used to compare Maddie to Maite when she was first coming.
Yeah, Maite was one of the best defenders in the conference and never really got acknowledged as such. Now, part of that was we weren't as good defensively as a team. Now, we're really good defensively this year. We ended up, I think, 2nd or 3rd in the conference in field goal percentage defense. When's the last time that happened around here? That's really, really good. I'm really proud of how well we've done defensively. So, anyway, good on those 3. And now it's time to elevate their game even more, and let's carry this team a long ways, first in the Pac-12 tournament and then the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, last 9 games now, I think 3-point shooting against you is around 25%. That's pretty good. That works.
That's pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. And I think we're in the mid to low 30s in overall field goal percentage in the last half a dozen games or so.
Yeah, something I've been wanting to ask you here on this show, because usually we're talking straight team stuff in the pregame and the postgame. But where do you see the future of women's basketball? I mean, you got the portal now, you got the NIL. Where do you see it going?
Well, I think it's going up. I think every time you watch games on TV, you're seeing bigger and bigger crowds. Yeah. There's exciting players. I watched Caitlin Clark play yesterday from Iowa, and they drew 15,000 for the game.
Yes.
And 2 really good teams and 1 spectacular star. She reminds me a lot of Sabrina, doesn't she, and the impact that she can have. And it just goes on. And I really think there's a big future for women's basketball. I don't think it's going to be a niche sport like it is now. I think it's going to be more mainstream. I thought Sabrina did a lot for women's basketball. She brought the men's basketball fan into our sport. That's always, why would I watch them? They couldn't beat a high school boys team or whatever, But I think they have realized, man, these women have great games. So I love the future. Now, if we can get a pro team in Portland, big guy, I think that's what we definitely need.
Yeah, a little WNBA team up in Portland, and oh man, that would be fantastic. And
you tell me a WNBA team there, and they trade for Sabrina or Ruthie or Satu.
Exactly. I was just going to say that.
I mean, my goodness, you kidding me? You'd have, because you have 2 of the biggest fan bases in the country right here in Oregon State, and people would go, and they support the Thorns soccer team up there. So I think it's a big deal. All right, got off the point. No, you brought up that point.
I did. No, that's fine. I throw it out there for you to run with it. We talked about this, I think, yesterday at breakfast, but ball faking in the game. And Bev and I talked about it quite a bit during the season, where maybe there would be a turnover, just a pass into the post if you would have ball faked the pass. And Darren and I went to the NBA game while we were in Salt Lake, and that's what I mentioned to you that jumped out at me, is all the ball faking, shot faking, jab stepping, and it's kind of gone by the wayside at this level, it seems like.
Well, how many trainers, and everybody has their trainer now, how many trainers really teach that? It's catch and make a ball move. That's where the game has unfortunately gone. But you went to the NBA, the best of the best, and they still use the ball fake. You've heard me in practice. How many times have I said, fake a pass, make a pass?
Yep.
Fake a pass, make a pass. And it's a little bit of a lost art, And watch the games. Just sit down and watch and see how many teams really do that in college basketball. Yep. So, and the dribble drive offense, I think, has really hurt that as well. There's less station-to-station kind of movement. It's a lot of 4 people standing around, space the floor, and watch 1 or 2 in a pick and roll make a play. And then the defense has to adjust, and then, boom, that's when you kick it out and you get the open shooters. So, it's just a little bit different, but I think there's still a place for it. I agree with you.
Yeah, still high level of basketball. Well, talk the Pac-12 tournament. I saw this shirt, so I brought it.
What you got?
Here today.
Hey.
A little 2020 Pac-12 tournament champions, right?
Yeah.
Last time, I need a new shirt, Coach. So just
okay.
say, what do you
All
think?
right, well,
I think I've gotten a little bigger. It's a little more snug than it used to be.
Okay. We do. We won a couple of those championships down there. Did we win the first year in Vegas, or was it the second year?
No, the first year.
No, I think we lost the first year to Stanford in the final. And then we lost, and then we won 20. We won 18 and 20. Even though we'd won 18, 19, 20
That's right.
regular season championships, we lost the middle year to Stanford in the final.
Yeah, so you won the first one.
We won the first one, but I think that was in
Seattle.
Seattle.
Was in Seattle, you're right.
That was in Seattle.
Right.
Yeah.
Sophomore year for Sapp.
Yeah,
and
so,
yep.
But Vegas has been good to us. We've done well down there, and excited. We're going in as the 2 seed. I like our side of the bracket.
Yes.
Arizona and Stanford ended up in the 4-1 on their side. On our side, we play the winner of the 2 LA schools, and hopefully they beat up on each other that first night.
Go triple
and they
overtime.
will, because they don't really like each other. And then if we're blessed enough to win that first game, then there's a potential we've got Utah or Washington State in the I guess that would be the semifinals. Yeah. So anyway, on our side, the teams that we could play, we did not lose to during the regular season. Whereas on the other side of that bracket, we lost to Arizona State, and Oregon State in the 8-9 game, to Stanford the 1, to Arizona the 4. So, it's better on paper, even though it doesn't really matter at this time of the season.
Yeah. But you earned it. You earned that spot, and it's kind of maybe better that you had to earn it. You had to win yesterday, as we're talking here on Monday, against Utah. That feels a little bit better, I guess, than, I don't want to say backing in, but I guess that.
Oh, no question about it. No question about it. Listen, we've had an up and down year. There's no debate on that.
Mm-hmm.
Up and down. But in the end, we were picked number 2 and we took number 2, and we're still right where we wanted to be in terms of placement. And I like kind of how our team's trending. That game at Utah really showed me something, because that's an NCAA tournament team who was playing for something themselves. It wasn't like they were just kind of going through the motions. Right. And I like where we're at. And you know what? We've always done well in postseason.
Yep.
Since we've been here, even with the NIT team that second year, made it to the semifinals. And our teams tend to trend up and play well in postseason.
So team getting if any team needed a rest, it's this team. Got a little bit of a rest before you head down there.
Terry, 11 games we played in February in 26 days. That's outrageous. That's more than anybody in the country, I'm sure, and it's probably more than any team in Pac-12 history. A lot of games. We just haven't had much time to just focus on ourselves, and so this is a much needed just break. Yesterday, how's this? So we played on Saturday, flew home Saturday night. We had a day off Sunday. I think that's their first day off. Like true day off. We usually give them Monday or Tuesday off. That's not a day off because they're still going to class.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday with nothing to do in well over a month. 2 months. I think probably since the Christmas break.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, probably. Well, Coach, thanks for your time.
My pleasure, bud. Always good being with you, Terry.
One more Tip-Off Tuesday. I believe that Terry Jonz is going to be sitting down with Kelly Graves next week. That'll be our final Tip-Off Tuesday as we preview the men's tournament, look back on the women's tournament. That's next week. But still to come this week, Oregon men's basketball heading to the state of Washington. 7 o'clock, Ducks and Dogs on Thursday. 1 o'clock, Oregon in Pullman against Washington State. Big games in the state of Washington. Ducks are squarely on the bubble on the men's side, playing meaningful basketball in the month of now March. It's March 1st. Happy March Madness, everybody. When we come back, my conversation with Oregon men's basketball assistant coach Chris Crutchfield, and it was a really good one. We talked to him earlier today. That's next on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Once a Duck, always a Duck. That's OCCU. Since 1956, OCCU has been the credit union serving the University of Oregon community. From the bright yellow Duck debit card to the Duck Visa Rewards card. If you're a Duck, you belong at OCCU, where you'll find fewer fees, higher savings rates, and lower rates on loans, and lots of fellow Duck fans. Go Ducks. Join OCCU. Learn more at myoccu.org/Go Ducks.
Ready to get back in the game? Great news. The movement experts at Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists can help you find relief and results and keep you off the sidelines. With 15 convenient locations across Portland, contact Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists today at proactivepts.com to see a physical therapist. Proactive Physical Therapy Specialists, a proud partner of Oregon Athletics and trusted choice for keeping Duck fans in the game.
You're listening to Ducks basketball on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous, as in
Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back inside the Country Financial Studio. Tip-off Tuesday as we get ready for Oregon men's basketball. 7 o'clock on Thursday, the Ducks will take on the Dogs. 6:30 pregame show here on the Oregon Sports Network, and the TV broadcast will be on Pac-12 networks for that 7 o'clock tip-off up in Seattle. Earlier this morning, I got a chance to catch up with men's basketball assistant coach Chris Crutchfield. A 1-1 weekend, had some big opportunities, and, well, we broke it all down. My conversation, part 1 with Chris Crutchfield. Second time this season that we've had the pleasure to talk with Chris Crutchfield. Coach, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Hey,
how you doing?
It's the second time that we've had you on. Thanks for coming over. Really appreciate it. And I got to tell you, I have loved sitting courtside, and I'm one of the few that can hear what's going on right in front of me, right? And just the conversations that you guys have in a game, I got to tell you, it fascinates me. I kind of want to start with you there after this home weekend, just like – How as a coach have you been able to kind of feel that out over the course of your career? Like, how much do I talk to an official? How much do I talk to the head coach? How much am I talking to the guys? Like, that's got to be an art form that you guys all have with your experience on the bench.
You know, I will say this. It really is. It really is. And it takes time to develop the relationship with one, the officials.
Sure.
If you're going to talk to them in a certain way, and some of them have to know you and been around you a little bit to not know how to take you. Then with the head coach, because it's such a hostile and high-intensity moment, it's not what you say to the head coach in those times, it's how you say it to him, how you present something to him. So, and that's just one of those things, is an art that you have to learn, and you have to learn that personality. Then dealing with the players is a whole nother different, box, because there's pressure on them to perform at a high level, and you know it. And sometimes they don't always do that. Mm-hmm. They don't always deliver. So you got to make sure you say the right things to them to keep them engaged in the game when they do make mistakes or have a bad moment or a bad half. So it's an art that takes some patience, and it's a little testy sometimes. Sometimes you're better off saying nothing.
Right. And sometimes that's more powerful than if you did say something.
No doubt.
Right? I mean, there's been moments, and over the time that I've sat courtside, and you've been a head coach. So what's that like in your dynamic? Because you kind of know what the head coach needs to hear in those situations, right?
It's like driving a car on the interstate, and you got a bunch of cars zooming by you, and you're looking ahead, but you're also looking back in your rearview mirror, and you got people talking to you in the car.
Right. So it's like being a parent.
And you got a passenger, you got two people in the back seat, and they're all talking to you, and they want you to respond. They want you to say something. And all of a sudden, you still got to focus on the road.
Right.
And you're worried about these cars driving by you because you think, am I driving too slow?
That sounds about right.
Imagine that.
So coaching is multitasking.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean,
no doubt about it.
And that's true, I think, in a lot of professions. But I'll just say, particularly in coaching, we were just talking before we got going here. Like, you guys are on the road recruiting, and you're practicing, you're scouting, you're getting prepared. It's a balancing act that you guys do, isn't it?
No doubt, no doubt. And you have to be able to manage your time and be able to manage a lot of different things. I mean, if you have young kids or families, you got to be able to manage that and still go do your job, and then come back and take care of the guys that you recruited that's in your program and make your head coach happy at the same time. So
sure.
There's a lot of juggling that goes on, but the good ones survive it.
That's right. That's right. I think that I'll just be the one to say that there's a lot of good ones here at the University of Oregon, including yourself.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just look at the numbers over the last few years at Oregon, and then we talked last time you were on, Coach, just about your experience and why you came to Oregon. So if you missed that, go back to the archive of our previous Tip-Off Tuesday with Coach Crutchfield. The UCLA win, Coach. I always like to look ahead a little bit, or look back a little bit before we look ahead. What went so well in that matchup against UCLA a few days ago? What'd you like in a top 25 win for your program?
Well, I think it's a game that I think we match up really well. And we got off to a decent start, made some shots early, then they took the lead. And I think our guys kind of got into a good rhythm offensively, made some shots. But I think we defended. We really defended, and we was able to get out in transition and really get some easy baskets. And I think that makes a difference with our defense. I mean, we're a transition team. and we really want to emphasize that. But when we're not in transition, it's a hard game. We'll go on droughts where we don't score for 3 or 4 minutes, and you've seen us do that. But when that happens, our defense kind of flattens out, and it's not the same energy. So transition has been good for us. So we was able to do that in that game against UCLA. And I think them losing Juzang down the stretch kind of hurt them offensively a little bit. And to put a bit more pressure on some other guys to score, and they wasn't able to deliver. So, it worked out in our favor.
This might sound like an obvious question, but Coach Altman and I have discussed this before, that you guys are a transition team. You like to force turnovers. That kind of gets your energy going. You want to hit some shots, get out and run. What are the strategies when you guys are on the bench when you're not forcing those turnovers? Because you've seen it. You play good teams that don't turn the ball over at times.
Well, we talk about our activity. We talk about deflections. Are our hands active? Are we trying to take a pass away? Are we denying a pass? Things like that. We're telling guys to be more aggressive. Be more aggressive. Be more aggressive. You have no fouls, so you can be more aggressive on this guy. And just to do something where we're dictating on the defensive end and not setting back and letting things happen.
Are you okay with a guard having one foul a game that's around midcourt going for a steal? I mean, I know it depends on how many fouls they have over the course of a game, but is that kind of that level of aggression you want to force some turnovers?
I think later in the first half, if you're 7 minutes to go in the half and you don't have a foul, I think you can let a guy loose to be more aggressive if he has some quickness and some instincts to be able to do that. And like Jacob is a guy that can do that. So we want him to go take a risk here and there.
I think about Jacob Young a lot. I mean, Davion Harmon's got some steals. Will Richardson. Eric Williams seems to sometimes have a knack in transition. Just that really does get you guys going. We've seen it times this year.
No doubt. And we got 4 really quick guards who are engaging, who have a good feel, some basketball savvy that can go after things and do that. And I think the more we get those guys to understand that, I think it helps us offensively, not just defensively, but it helps us offensively too.
I want to revisit that in a second, but first, staying in chronological order, I know the USC one was a tough one. What was the response from the team after that game? Because I know that locker room had to be pretty quiet, and I bet they were a little frustrated.
Well, I think when you have an emotional game like that where you hit a shot and you go up, then you come back and you get a shot hit against you, and there's 2 different emotional highs and lows, then you have an opportunity to score and you don't take advantage of it. So they was down. They was really down because they know how important those 2 games were. Those are quad-1 wins that we really, really need to get, and we got one, didn't get the other. But they knew going into the game how important that was. So they was down. But they also understand that there's a lot of basketball left.
Sure.
Too. So you can't throw all your eggs in this basket. We still got some more things we can take advantage of that we need to. But we run out of opportunities too. They know that. So at the same time, there was down a little bit. But at the end of the conversation, they said, guys, we still got a lot of basketball to play. And let's get our heads up and let's get back to work on Monday. And we got to go to Washington and win 2 games.
Washington, 2 games. We're going to talk about that road trip coming up. Coach, I think it's really interesting you talking about, the guys know where you're at. And how nice is it to be playing, how exciting is it to be playing meaningful basketball games in the month of February and the month of March? I mean, the program expectations at Oregon are so high, and I know Coach Altman would say that's where they should be. I think you would. Obviously, that's why you're here, right?
No doubt.
But playing meaningful games here, there's only, maybe 80 teams right now that are playing meaningful basketball. You guys still have a lot to play for in front of you.
And that's about right. And you said the number is 80 teams that are out there fighting for 68 spots to play in the NCAA tournament, and that's the mecca of it all, and that's what we're shooting for. And think about this. There's another 250 teams that are not.
Right.
So it's a really elite class to be in, even being on the bubble like we are. But those guys know. They understand it. It's on their phones. They watching it. They listening to people talk about it on sports radio shows, and they see it on ESPN. And it's that time of the year. I mean, where it's being talked about, and our guys know. They know that every game is important, and they want to play well. And they know what the expectations are being at the University of Oregon. And they want to represent our fan base. They want to represent the university the way it's been represented in the past.
I've been around teams that have been on the bubble. I've been around teams that are number 1 overall seeds. I mean, now the focus, and I truly mean this, fans, I'm always amazed at the way that you guys as coaches, and this has got to be true of
a lot of coaches, ones that you've worked with, I imagine. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I just have a feeling that, no, it really is like you have to still prepare for the next game. Because as soon as you start thinking your head gets big and there's so much else going on, that's when you lose a game you're not supposed to.
That's exactly right. And it's happening a lot.
Yeah.
Like you see teams that, like just like last weekend, there was a bunch of upsets in the top 10 in the country.
Most ever.
Because I think, and I've been in this spot before when I was at OU where you know you're going to the tournament. You know you're going to get a good seed. And you got these 4 games left, and you just want to get to the end.
Yeah.
Let's just get to the conference tournament.
Yeah.
Let's get to the NCAA tournament. And you sleepwalk through a game and you get beat. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens sometimes with these kids. They just kind of it's part of human nature.
It is.
And it does happen.
Yeah.
It does happen.
We got more coming up with Chris Crutchfield. We talked about the parity around college basketball, and he knows better than anybody, right? Just the way that what it takes to win this time of year. We got more coming up. Stay with us on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Don't miss the 3rd installment in the Kingsman film series, The Kingsman, starring Ray Fiennes. Now available at Redbox. This action spy thriller prequel unfolds with the Duke of Oxford learning of a sinister plot by Rasputin and other notorious historical figures to eradicate millions of people in pre-World War I Europe. The story follows and reveals the origins of the independent intelligence agency, The Kingsman. Watch The Kingsman and make it a Redbox night. Visit redbox.com for all the ways to watch.
You're listening to Tip Off Tuesday on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
What is dedication?
My daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
These are the sounds of a dinner. A dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio, we continue our conversation with men's basketball assistant coach Chris Crutchfield before the Ducks travel to Washington to finish up the regular season.
Do you find, as you've gone through this in your career, do you find this year to be more parity-ridden than others? And I know we talk about like it was the most top 10 teams to ever lose on a single day in the history of college basketball. That happened this weekend on Saturday.
Yeah.
Do you really see more parity throughout college basketball right now?
I think so. I really do. This year has been different just because, it hadn't – it's been a bunch of number one teams stay in the rankings at that spot for a time. Baylor and Gonzaga has done it for a while. So, but when I say that, those teams are beatable. Mm-hmm. There's not one team that we can say they're going to win a national championship. No one can touch them. Now, it's been years but that's been like that, and you knew no one could beat a certain team. But I just think there's about a group of about 12 teams that can win the whole thing.
Really? Wow.
I really believe there's 12 teams that can win the whole thing.
So you're saying, like, you make it to the Sweet 16, you got a great shot.
No doubt about it.
That means it's going to be a great tournament. So here's to be in there.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, I like that. I'm curious, too, Coach, back to you guys here. Different lineups. Like Coach Altman and I have talked before about how when Dante's in there for the 20-plus minutes that he gives you, it's a different-looking team, right? And then when you guys have played small, it's a different-looking team. How do you approach that as a coach? And, like, even in game, figuring out you guys going to go small, you're going to go big. How do you guys approach that as a coaching staff?
Most of the time it comes down to defensive matchups more than anything else. if a team does go small or they have a mobile 6'10" guy that can step out and shoot like Mobley, they put you in tough situations with Frank or Dante being on the floor just because of mobility and a guy's ability to go in and out and shoot the basketball. So the game flow kind of dictate the substitutions and the matchups, especially when they're playing with the lead. If they're playing with the lead and they're dictating the matchups, then you have to kind of match up with them, hopefully to get back in the game to not let that lead extend. But there's things that we talk about going into games of lineups based on their lineups, based on certain matchups, based on certain things that we want to run. So, and Coach is really, really good at that. I mean, he's so smart when it comes to making adjustments in games. So he has a plan in the back of his head. We're constantly offering suggestions, and that's how I go about.
You know, we talked earlier about like the way that you guys communicate on the bench. I'm always fascinated at just watching this take place, and I'm going to describe something like from my point of view, and I'm kind of curious your perspective. Like Coach Altman will be standing up as he usually does. Let's say he's looking down at the other end of the floor. And then Coach Crutchfield will say one thing. Coach McKenna will say one thing. You know, Coach Manga says one thing, and maybe I hear a player say something, and then Coach Altman's processing all that. You're talking about the analogy of driving the car, and then he's like, "All right, sub in." You know, like that. That's really how it goes, right? Like, like, did I miss anything there?
No, that's pretty much how it goes. He's taking in a lot of data in a fast pace, and he's processing it really fast, and he's watching the floor, and he's saying, okay, you're right, let me do that. Then there's times where he'll say,
right. Just hold the hand out. I've seen that.
There's times where he'll just say, okay. And we know, okay, we made our suggestion. He's not going to take it, and let's move on to the next.
I hear that. Back to the big men for a moment. Frank Kepnong and Fale Dante protecting the rim. There's been some games this year, Coach, where I feel like they've really dominated for you guys, not just offensively but defensively, and really set the tone. We were talking about how you guys want to get out and run in transition. When you don't do that, just how critical is that rim defense for your squad?
It's so big, and I think, if you look at the teams that have won national championships or played in the Final Four, they all had something in common. That was a goaltender and a shot blocker that was able to change the game because you taking 8 to 10 to 12 points off the board with the blocks. And when we're active, when Frank and Dante are really active and blocking shots or just being active around the rim or they're altering shots, it changes the flow of a game. And we make our run in the UCLA game because Frank blocked 3 shots.
Yeah, 3 shots
and
like
kept
3
them
minutes.
in play.
Yeah.
And he kept them in play, which started a fast break that gets a layup, an open 3 in transition, and you go on a 8-0 run just because of what one person did on the defensive end, and that's the impact those guys can have. Even Quincy is capable of blocking shots. So you got 3 guys that can have a major impact in the game just on the defensive end and altering and blocking shots. And we need them to do that continuously as we go down the stretch here.
This is not a slight at Dante and Frank, but I think Quincy's got the block of the year. You remember that? He jumps in the air with 2 hands, just meets a guy. It was like a joust at the net in volleyball. I mean,
sure did.
I'll tell you, that's probably the block of the year. That's textbook because you talk about keeping it in play, right? That's exactly what you want to do. You want a block to be a turnover.
And we call that going vertical. I mean, he jumps, and he's in the circle, I think. He's in the circle, and if you're in the circle, you have to leave your feet. So he jumps up with both hands, and the guy puts the ball right in his hands almost. So it worked out pretty good where he stayed vertical and didn't get a foul, was able to block the shot, and I think we went the other way with it.
You did, yeah. Talking about your backcourt, we mentioned Will Richardson, Davion Harmon, all the guys, Jacob Young, and just the way that they've impacted the game defensively. What do you need to see from your backcourt offensively here down the stretch?
Most important thing, I think we need consistency. We need guys making shots. I mean, when you get down to March is really about making shots. I think more importantly, our defense need to be really, really good, need to be consistent. But our 3 guards, and Davion, Will, and Jacob, they have to be able to be consistent in their shot-making ability for us. And I think that takes you a long way.
Sure.
A long way.
Coach Altman will always say that rebounding is key. And I think the numbers tell you that under Coach Altman at the University of Oregon, when you out-rebound teams, you win games.
No doubt.
That's one of the big numbers. In fact, I think the only game still this year where you guys have lost and you've out-rebounded the opposition is the Baylor game.
No doubt.
Yeah, so
no doubt.
Take fans inside practice. Like what does a rebounding drill look like?
Well, it really consists of 3 or 4 guys being on the perimeter outside the three-point line, and 3 or 4 guys inside the block in the circle, and the coaches are passing it back and forth. And the defense is shifting based on where the ball is, but when the ball is shot, you might be standing next to your guy, or he might be 3 feet away or 4 feet away from me, and we have to go hit him and turn and box and go react to the basketball. And it's a real physical drill. And that's what we do, sometime on a daily basis, every other day. But that's the rebounding drill that we do. Then when we get into live play, we're constantly emphasizing box out every time the ball is shot.
Yeah, I can't tell you the amount of times in practice I hear box out, box out, hit somebody, right? Hit somebody. That's what you hear a lot of. And fans, to give you an idea, these are pads that you guys are using to hit the guys, but it is physical because
no doubt.
Basketball's a physical game.
No doubt.
I think sometimes there's a perception that, if you get hit, it's a foul. Well, there's a lot of bodies hitting each other, and there's not foul calls on a lot of those plays.
And there's a lot more physical than people think it is. It's just the bumping, the pushing, the holding, the grabbing. When you drive to the basket, there's always contact. That's not a foul.
Right.
So it is a physical game.
Do you find that that's one of the biggest differences between high school basketball and then college D1 basketball? Is this the physicality, the nature of the game?
Oh, no doubt. And we ask the players all the time, what's the difference in the game? They said the speed and the physicality.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? With so much great information with Chris Crutchfield. We continue to preview Oregon taking on the Washington schools. My thanks, though, to Kelly Graves. My thanks to assistant coach Chris Crutchfield. Great tip-off Tuesday for you. Our final tip-off Tuesday of the season next Tuesday. I'm hoping that I'll be here with Terry because that means that the Ducks are a top 4 seed. And we're probably not traveling until a little later in the week. I'm looking forward to it. It's a big week. Oregon women's basketball, 6 o'clock Thursday. Winner of UCLA and USC will face the Ducks. Oregon men's basketball, 7 o'clock against the Huskies on Thursday. And then Washington State Saturday at 1. See you, everybody.
Once a Duck, always a Duck. That's OCCU. Since 1956, OCCU has been the credit union serving the University of Oregon community. From the bright yellow Duck debit card to the Duck Visa Rewards card. If you're a Duck, you belong at OCCU, where you'll find fewer fees, higher savings rates, and lower rates on loans, and lots of fellow Duck fans. Go Ducks. Join OCCU. Learn more at myoccu.org/.